This weekend is brought to you by Phoenix Fuels.
Make every trip come alive with Phoenix Fuels, now with Pulse technology.
The rains are making for a more challenging and exciting FlatOut Race Series season. The fourth round never got to be completed because of heavy rains. The rains came during the fifth round, but they were not quite as bad as during the fourth. Still, it made for some interesting results. Up next, highlights of the fifth round of the 2018 FlatOut Race Series on Race Weekend.
We are here for another edition of the FlatOut Race Series, this time at the Batangas Racing Circuit. Round 5 is underway. Let's go check it out. After a very wet round at the Clark International Speedway, the 2018 FlatOut Race Series made its way back to the Batangas Racing Circuit for another round marred by rain. But round 5 was not as wet or wild as it was during the round 4 in Clark. Still, intermittent rains made for unpredictable results up and down the time bracket in the time attack sessions. I'm here again with JP Castellano, one of the organizers of a FlatOut Race Series, to tell us more about today's race. Hi JP, thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for, we're glad to have you here. It's a nice day for racing here at the Batangas Racing Circuit.
Okay, we're here at the Batangas Racing Circuit, as you've mentioned. Can you give the viewers an idea of how the Batangas Racing Circuit stacks up with your usual Clark International Speedway in terms of style and design for the drivers?
So the Batangas Racing Circuit, or the BRC as we call it, is a much older track than the Clark International Speedway. So it has its own character, while Clark is more of a power circuit with its long straights. Here at the Batangas Racing Circuit, we have more high-speed corners where the drivers are challenged to have higher cornering speeds instead of focusing on the power of their vehicle. So it's quite challenging, and our drivers really love the challenge of driving here at the BRC.
As the round wore on amid intermittent drizzles and downpours, the element of luck became a major factor in the determination of rankings in the various time brackets, with cars and drivers let onto the track in small groups to compete, setting their best lap times while staying within the parameters of their chosen brackets.
Actually, my first time attack run was pretty good. The track was hot and there was no drizzle, and I was lucky that there was no traffic. So on my second run, I was really a bit unlucky because I ran into some cars that are still entering or just exiting the track. So some of my laps were a bit slow, but I was happy on my first time attack run.
Well, I was lucky enough to be in the dry, so I didn't have the wet. But I like racing in the rain, but you know, it's what it is. I had fun. It was good.
Several races are held here every year at the Batangas Racing Circuit that was built late in the 90s. The circuit is 3.7 kilometers long, has 10 turns, and runs in a clockwise rotation. The configuration of the Batangas Racing Circuit is challenging enough, but setting a good hot lap amid sudden changes in surface conditions and traffic also needed something the uninitiated would never consider as part of racing: defensive driving.
Of course, defensive driving is one. You have to learn how to follow the rules and regulations. You have to drive defensively. One thing I learned with racing, it teaches you to be a safe driver. Not only for yourself, but for the others. Basically, I'm happy with my time. No, I don't compete. Actually, I'm competing against myself. I'm pushing 60, no? And this is just a passion for me. In fact, right now, I'm just borrowing the car of my nephew. I don't have a car of my own, so at least, I'm happy I was given a chance no, to drive.
When the drivers were to called on for their time attack sessions and what track and weather conditions they faced at the time proved crucial to the results for the day. Some found their sessions not quite as challenging. Others decided to forego theirs for safety reasons, and yes, to save their cars for the future races.
Oh, well, inside the track, there are some puddles of water, but I think that's it. Aside from the oil slick in Casino, I think that's it. Not so much. Because my car is rear-wheel drive, so it tends to wiggle about when the track is damp. So, yun, the rain is really a factor.
You know, I was supposed to run now, but because of this, I don't want to risk the car. No, as I said, you know, I'm here to enjoy. So why risk the car? So I would rather preserve the car for another race. No?
For others, the challenge came more from learning the performance characteristics of their cars, especially when it's being continuously developed for racing.
I'm just still learning my car, so that's my challenge. The car is good right now, but I'm trying to catch up to it. So, but I was happy with it. Each race, there's a lot of development going on because I bought this car stock, meaning it's just like any car off the street. But there's been a lot of development. Changed the engine, changed the transmission, changed the gearing drive, changed the pipes. A lot of, actually, I don't even remember how many, but there's every time we have a break before the next round, then we change something else. So it's constant development.
At the end of another weather-affected round of the 2018 FlatOut Race Series, the usual suspects found their way to the top of the fastest brackets. Further down the brackets, some of the newer names in force racing were fighting for top honors and points. The man who set a new BRC lap record in the previous rounds at the track, Don Portugal, set the overall fastest round 5 lap while lording it over Bracket R, driving a Maptan Logistics-supported Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 7. Driving the staunch performance Honda Civic EK, Rafael Lau was fastest in Bracket A, besting Portugal who dropped Eduardo Suiza in the W Autosport Staging Lanes Honda Civic EG down to 3rd, which could prove crucial in determining this year's champion. Lau leads Suiza by just 6 points with just 3 rounds remaining in the season. Nicola Fernandez in the 4-speed Honda EG edged Paulo Santos by mere hundredths of a second in Bracket B. Paul Santos was fastest in Bracket C. Errol Panganiban topped Bracket D. Roy Sarmiento was closest to hitting the max lap time allowed in Bracket E. Amiel Del Mundo was the best driver in huge field competing in Bracket F in round 5. Bracket G was topped by Alan Escoto, beating the points leader in the class, Gabby De Sales. Christopher Ko took the top step in the 86 Club class podium. The combined Grid D and E races were run on a dry track with a 15-car field. Andre Tan used a clinical pass on Errol Panganiban late in the race to win Grid D. Jeff Pobadora won Grid E on a technicality after both Cody Nang and Mars Ocampo earned penalties for breaking out of their time brackets during the race. By the time combined Grid A, B, and C races were held, the track was slippery from heavy rains. Rafael Lau took advantage of Portugal, retiring from the race with mechanical problems to take the checkered flag for Grid A. Paul Henderson Perez chased Lau all the way to the finish line to take top honors in Grid B. John Bendick Carbonell benefited from Santos being forced to change tires mid-race to finish at the head of Grid C.
And that concludes another coverage of the FlatOut Race Series. My name is Ray Louis Gamboa. Be sure to check us out every week for more motorsports highlights.
July has really been a particularly bad month for rains, more than the average rainfall according to the weather experts. and they have made an impact on many race events, even forcing the postponement of some series. Here's hoping August won't be as bad as July.
This week's feature on Race Weekend has been brought to you by Phoenix Fuels.
Make every trip come alive with Phoenix Fuels, now with Pulse technology. These are the Fuel Masters. Every time they're on the court, it's high performance. Every time I'm on the road, I can also expect high performance from Phoenix Fuels. We made it! The next generation Phoenix Fuels, now with Pulse technology, delivers enhanced power and acceleration to make every trip come alive.